IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we discuss the story of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners. Hi guys, I'm your host Saif, and before we kick on with today's episode, a quick shout out to you, our lovely listeners. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing the podcast. A special mention for Rohit Gavaikar from Pune and Ankit from Nepal. You have been one of our earliest listeners and very loyal ones at that. Thank you so much for all the motivation. We really appreciate your kind words and encouragement. Now on with today's episode. Hi guys, our guest traveler today is Reshma Narasing from the blog thesologlobetrotter.com. Reshma is an avid traveler who loves backpacking across the country and loves offbeat destinations. So sit back and enjoy as we find out where Reshma is taking us to today. Reshma, thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Saif. Thank you for having me here on the Musafir Stories.
We are very happy to have you, Reshma. Thanks so much for being a part of this. And before I get off with further details, the introduction I gave about you is quite concise. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about Reshma and the Solo Globetrotter?
Hi, guys. So this is Reshma. I blog at the Solo Globetrotter. I am a solo traveler, and as my blog's name suggests, so I write about solo travel. I like adventure and traveling in the mountains. I started out as a backpacker, and I also like traveling slow and taking one place at a time. I'm basically a content writer, editor, and a social media manager. I started this blog about 2.5 years ago. And I've been doing it full time since 2 years now.
Awesome. Excellent. So, Reshma, with that introduction, stage set now to cover the rest of the episode. What we usually do with the Musafir Stories is each week, whenever we have a guest traveler on board, we request them to take us and our listeners to a new destination. So, with that in mind, where are you taking our listeners to today?
Yeah, that's great. So I would be taking you all to Bir, which is the popular destination for paragliding in India, located in the Kangra district in Himachal Pradesh. I actually want to talk about this place because this was my first time in Himachal, and I ended up volunteering there with Zostel for about 6 to 7 weeks. Okay. And I would like to talk about that.
Excellent. We're excited, and slow travel is something that we haven't had a chance to throw light on in our previous episodes. So we're really happy to be covering that. And getting on with the episode, Reshma, you said this was about 6 to 7 weeks, and all of that was in Bir.
Yep. So it was overall about 3 months trip. Okay. So I was on road for 3 months. So it started out with I actually left for Nepal for a press trip, and this beer thing and whatever followed was totally unplanned. Yeah. So I was just working with one of the travel companies there, and had been to a trek and exploring Pokhara and all the regions. So I was doing this Poon Hill trek. And so just then I got a message from one of my friends. So he said that there is a volunteering thing going on with Zostel. Okay. And he told me that he asked me whether I was interested. He thought that I would be a good fit because as I like traveling and staying at one place. And he thought, why don't you try it? Like you will have the opportunity to, explore the place and work as well as travel. And since you also blog about it, I think they would be happy to have you. So I was hesitant because, I had never done volunteering for a long term before. So although I had, done a few things here and there, I was hesitant, but it was Himachal Pradesh and I really liked the Himalayas the most. So I was really tempted to, not say no. I was like, how could I pass this opportunity on? So I said, okay, yeah. I'll send you my profile. Let's see what happens.
Okay. And then just to be sure, how does this work? So you offer some services to Zostel in return for a stay at their place. Is that how it works?
Yeah, they basically look for something out of every person, like a volunteer. You can offer whatever that you have to contribute in some positive way. I mean, that adds value to the place. Okay. Like you could take over the reception, or you could take them. Like you can take the guests on some of the customized tours, or you can just do the hospitality part, or like that. It's up to you. So they don't entrust you. It's not like hard and fast or anything. So they don't categorize, but they expect you to, as I said, contribute in one way or the other.
Okay. And then how about you, Reshma? Like, what was your role while volunteering with Zostel?
So mine was actually, I did a bit of all of them. They looked into my profile, being a travel blogger. So they said, like, they were more interested in wanting a review, and they said they would arrange for tours, and in turn they wanted me to write about it and do the social media marketing. It became more of a campaign, come volunteering with me.
And hostels in general are a good way to meet up with fellow backpackers and solo travelers, I think, right? That must have been a good networking opportunity as well for you.
Definitely, because as a solo traveler, I think Zostel already has the thing in place that they don't encourage group bookings. I'm not sure if you know it or so they don't encourage more than 4 people, which means that you'll have to meet new people every day, and I think that's one of the best parts of volunteering that I enjoy.
That's another facet of traveling and staying with hostels, right? As compared to, say, guest house or a hotel, a traditional hotel, you don't really have that opportunity. Obviously, it does come at a bit of privacy. You have to give up a bit of privacy in most of these cases, but it's an absolutely great way to network and make friends with like-minded people and fellow travelers.
Yeah, so that's true. And one thing, on one hand comes the privacy part, and the other hand comes networking, so which are quite opposite, right? So, yeah. So, and if you have to ask me, I am an introvert basically, so I don't talk much. I had never talked to so many people at once, so so it was a challenge to me. So I had to, get out of my comfort zone. I had to push up. I had to meet random people and tell them over and over again about the place, So, and when I said that I did volunteer there, and when I said I was a travel blogger, so it led to even more further conversations. Yeah, so I used to get a lot of questions, and then I bonded over travel with a lot of people. So that's one thing that I liked a lot.
Excellent. So all in all, it turns out that it worked well for both of you, for Zostel and you, in terms of enjoying the place, networking with the people, and obviously we will speak more about the things you got to see while at Zostel. So let's get into the thick of things. Reshma, tell us a little bit more about some of the activities you did or some of the places you saw while in Bir.
Yeah, where I got to, stay there as local. So I, in turn, at the end of 6 to 7 weeks, I was, so that's what happens, right? If you stay at a place for a longer time, and especially if the town is very small, so you get to know every lane and befriend people. That's what happened with me. I did with all the monasteries. So basically, it's it's more of compared to the other towns. I think it has a lot of Tibetan influence. Yeah. So there are a lot of monasteries. I did this temple hopping quite early. Then I actually got to go on a trek. So it's a day trek, 2 treks actually. Okay. So one was this trek called Rajgunda. So it's customized trek, Zostel conducts. Okay. So it's a village called Rajgunda. If you do it in in the beginning, like from Jan to Feb to March, so it's going to be more of a snow trek, because you are going to walk on the snow, thoroughly a snow trek, and it's very easy. By the time I went, I think it was not much of snow was there, but it was really beautiful. So I've done a couple of treks before. So as I said, I like hiking and all this stuff. This is one of the places where people then if you haven't been to a place where you have not seen a snowfall or something in India, I think this is very good place to go. So most people go to Triund. So Triund is again, I think even compared to Triund, this is a far more easier trek. And you get to camp for one day. So,
okay, so it's an overnight trek?
Yeah, it's an overnight trek. And at night, the sky is really brilliant. So away from the town, it's first of all, Bir is itself is a small village, and you get to go even further. I went with two more people, so we're staying in Zostel. So they also took up this trek, and we were 3 people with a guide, and it got really cold at night, and then I think we had this campfire and we ate the staple food of trek, that is Maggie and masala chai. And then I think in the morning we heard some noises, and the girl came back running. She said, "So I think I heard the noise of some bears."
Oh my God!
So, yeah,
not a pleasant noise to wake up to.
We were really close. Yeah. So that became a wake-up call actually. So we were really close, so isolated, like it's so remote. So it was really awesome.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I probably missed this out at the beginning. So what time of the year did you do this?
Last year in March.
Okay.
So yeah.
Just a year. So March is a good time, but you said it might not be. There might not be as much snow if you're doing it at that time, right?
Yeah, Bir will not see snowfall much. There were some hailstorms so when I was there, people usually told me that they will not get it. Earlier they used to have snowfall in Bir itself. Now they have to go to some more, where the paragliding happens. There they see a bit of snow.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, but otherwise it's all green at this time. It's not too hot. I think it's a very good time.
Okay, excellent. And then tell us a little bit more about the views you get during the trek. You mentioned that it's an easy trek, so does that also mean that you do get great views while you're doing the trek, or how are the views?
The views are really awesome. It starts from a village. You pass through a village. You first have to cross this dam called Barot Dam, which used to be one of the earliest dams, hydroelectric power dam of India. Yeah, so you can't, I think, go along the entire length of the dam. You can only just see, because for security reasons, obviously. So Barot is the first place, so you start from there. And then you pass through a small village called Baragaon. That's when you get cut off from the urbanization. So you walk through the meadows, and then you pass through the river, and it's not uphill trek. So it goes uphill obviously, but you will not. It's not a steep one. So you basically keep walking for 4 to 5 kilometers before you start feeling the altitude. Like it's not. I wouldn't use the word altitude, because you will not notice the difference, but you would obviously be getting higher and higher. So the views get better. We will be able to see the entire part of the Kangra Valley with all these snow-capped mountains. So once you reach at the top again, but in our case, I think we started a little bit late in the afternoon, and by the time we headed to the camp, it was almost dark. If you are there before, I think you will get to see all the views, which are really fabulous.
And then, so what was your pit stop for the night? Where was this camp?
So they have a hostel there as well. So they have their so they have this really nice place in the middle of nowhere. So that's, right behind us is all pine tree forest, and then you have that they have built a complete hostel. So you can either stay inside, or you could even take your own camping gears, and you can camp right in front of place.
Okay, it looks really convenient then. It's just a case of carrying perhaps a good pair of trekking shoes, hiking shoes, and some warm clothes, I guess, for the road, right?
Yes.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's what I used to tell people. So once I went and came back, so people would ask me, what do you suggest? We want to get out of here, and we are done with paragliding and monasteries. So that is what I would recommend, because some people hadn't seen a snowfall, or they just wanted to experience snow, but they weren't ready for, very heavy trek or something. And some people hadn't trekked before. For these, I think Rajgunda is very convenient.
Exactly. And in terms of the hostel being like your pit stop for the night, that's convenient to you. That way you don't have to carry a lot of camping gear and sleeping bags and all of that.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, You don't have to basically carry anything at all.
Yeah.
Just to have some good winter clothes, that's it.
Yeah.
And if you are up for camping, so carry your camping gear. And they also, they take you back. So once you complete your journey, your circuit, and they will be picking you up. So you will come back to the paragliding landing site. So at the top.
So how does this work? The next morning you wake up and you trek all the way to the paragliding takeoff point, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
it takes about half a day or so, depending on your speed and how quickly or obviously how slowly you want to do it. And then most people, what they do is they take up this trek, they camp overnight, and then the next day they come down doing this paragliding.
Yeah, exactly. It does seem like a nice way of covering a bunch of things in, say, one event, right? You just sign up for the trek. You kind of do the trek. You see a bunch of the views, and you get to paraglide at the end of it. So that way, it's like two birds with one stone. Excellent. So that was a nice beginner's trek, I would say, and a perfect trek, especially given that Bir is the paragliding capital of India. It's a really nice way to enjoy a couple of good activities to do in the place. What other things did you do while at Bir, Reshma?
So, as I said, I just spent leisurely. So, I had a lot of time. So, I quickly did with all this. And then I also went to this, there's a river pool called Gunehar.
Okay.
And so it's about like 5 to 6 kilometer walk. So from Bir takes you to a river called Gunehar. Gunehar is it's more of a stream rather than a river, I would call. More than the stream, I think the trek to the place is good. You get to pass through the green fields, especially if you are there in Bir at this point, like between March and April. You get to see a lot of views of the villages, and then you pass right through the homes where you will find a lot of Himachali people. So you get to see the people up close. That's the good part of this. And the other thing is, Bir is very good. I mean, the location of the paragliding site, so it's very, very lovely for the sunset. Okay. So most people, what they do, they take paragliding exactly to coincide with the time of the sunset, right? So it's really, so that's one way. So believe it or not, I did not do paragliding.
Oh.
So
Was this like a wrong season, or were you just not too keen?
No, I am scared of heights. So but I really wanted to try it because I went and saw, and when I made up my mind, I think the weather was not that way, and then I just thought I'll drop it. Yeah. So anyway, yes.
That's another thing with the mountains, right? You never know, within a fraction of the second, the weather can take a turn for the good or for the bad, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Many people, I think some of them were really unfortunate because they were on limited leaves and they headed back to their places without doing paragliding. Like many of them had just come for that, but the weather is really unpredictable. And I think one of them had really come for learning there, so you can also train yourself there, so you can also get yourself certified, right?
And then you can do solo jumps, right? You can do it by yourself.
Yes, it could be tandem, or you can also do solo. So, but I think he had to stay up for a few more weeks because of the weather.
So what's a good time? What's a good time, Reshma, to paraglide?
I think it's except the monsoons and winter. During the monsoons and winters, it is closed,
right? So
you can't paraglide. Yeah, so that's always there. And time, after the snow subsides from Feb onwards, Feb end, I think they open it up, and it goes on until May, June, until the monsoons come up.
So I also wanted to touch upon one of the other points you mentioned during the trek to the river, right? You mentioned that you passed through a few tiny villages and did get a chance to meet with the people as well. So how was that experience, meeting with the locals? Because in most of these touristy places, not Bir, but I'm saying in most of the other touristy places, you never get a chance to really interact closely with the locals there, right? How was that experience?
Yeah. That was something that I hadn't experienced before at all, because I grew up in city, so I did not know what the village life was, and I got a chance to get to know people. So what happened was during this Holi, I was there for Holi, so I was in the hostel having, I was doing my stuff, and then people called me, like one of the guys. He asked me to just come out to take me to his home. So then on the way when I was going, so all the neighbors of that place, so they all were playing Holi. So they actually invited me to their place, and they did not leave me until we played Holi together. I hadn't even met them, so they were so warm and friendly. They asked me a lot of questions, and then they happily posed. And then I wanted to wear the traditional dress, so Himachali dress. So then I got the chance to wear it. So one of the guys who worked at Zostel, so he took me to his friend's place. So she was so generous that she gave her the best Himachali dress, which they actually wear it in weddings. She did not have it, but she got it from her aunt, who was again, miles away. They got it arranged all. They got it all set for me, just for me.
Yeah, I think that's.
So they took that effort.
Yeah, that's what we also hear from time to time about the generosity and the kindness of a lot of the people from the mountains, right? And the villages. Like, I'm not dissing on city people, but somehow this appears to be the norm. In our case, in the case of city folks, it's an exception. Like, you barely find a few cases here and there, but these folks, they're always so welcoming and so cheerful all the time and so kind. Now, that's what I've observed in my conversations with a number of travelers that we have covered in Musafir Stories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a surprising thing for us. I think it's, as you said, it's a norm. They are, happy, and they are their best. And I was really surprised at the ways they treated me like one of their own. Like, I had just met them minutes before, but we bonded. I bonded with that girl. Like, we chatted. I ended up chatting with her for I think 2 to 3 hours. So I did not leave that place at all, because I had all the hospitality. Like, I got nice homemade food. I got the Kangra chai, which is actually different from the masala chai. So they prepare it, they give it in a very big glass. So, which is, I had never seen, tea in that big glass. So they just, and it really tasted so good. It's not your typical masala chai. It's not your Indian masala chai.
Kangra chai? Excellent. But either way, I think it's one of the advantages of traveling slow, that you get to have these interactions with the local people, right? You're not in a rush all the time, and that way you can enjoy a lot of these things that are quite offbeat, and it's closer to their life as well. It's not like made for tourists, something made for tourists.
Yes, yeah. And there are other 2 places that I just remembered that I think I should tell. So one is called the Deer Park Institute. It's next to the Tibetan colony in Bir. This is actually an institute where they teach a lot of things about, Buddhism and being in harmony, and about spirituality and stuff. So they conduct a lot of workshops from time to time. So it's a really beautiful place. They have a lot of, a big square and meditation hall of where they have a large statue of Buddha, and a lot of people who want to take it slow, like not like the way I do, but people who are willing to, get away from their routine, and they just want to find peace or something like that. So they usually come to this place. So they have accommodations. They give you a bed, and they don't give food, they have this bed, and then they, as I said, they conduct workshops. They have talks where, the monks of various monks from Dharamshala, McLeodganj, and they all come there and they give these talks. So people come to participate in them, and they also have a library. So it's really good. So, and here you can volunteer as well. So here also you have the opportunity to volunteer. I think it's open throughout the year. You have to specify what you want to do. So sometimes they put it out that they are specifically looking for, say, for example, want someone to look after their library, or they just want somebody to look into their gardens or something. But otherwise, you are free to. If you have any skill, you can always put it out. So you can check it on their website. So they have a website. So if you are interested in, if you have time, I think it's one of the best ways to, again, explore Bir and the places around you. To just volunteer for a few hours per day. And they would in turn provide you bed, of course. And just being at that place is so positive. So because that having that chanting in the background and that all those vibrant flowers and mountains right in front of you, I think that's a really good place. That's another place where you can spend a lot of time.
Excellent. And this is called the Deer Park, you said?
Yeah, the Deer Park Institute.
We will include links to all of these places with the volunteering opportunities as well there. So check those out in the show notes section of the podcast. And what was the other place you mentioned, Reshma?
Yeah, so the other place is called Dharmalaya.
Okay.
So Dharmalaya is located on top of a hill. So you getting to that place again is a bit of an adventure. It's a nice adventure. Like you have to do a small hike, which is steep, which is an uphill walk up amidst the mountains. So again you'll pass through trees, forests, and all that. So you can also get by road, of course. But my guide took me to that place. Yeah. So Dharmalaya, they are into development and learning. So they have this tradition where they are building homes, like not homes per se, they are building buildings using the mud and all the mortar and from the place. So they dig that place and they make use of all that. They themselves prepare whatever is required. Then they wrap it up. So instead of a typical cement coating, you would see the mud coated walls. Okay. They have built a main building, which was again built by volunteers. So now they were building a couple of new things, like new, I think 2 to 3 more structures. They take up that. Their mission is to create something out of whatever is already there, natural resources.
So more like eco-friendly and sustainable, right? Yeah.
Yes, sustainability and eco-friendly, yeah. So they are more into social causes. They focus on yoga, meditation, and they also have a library. They have a whole building which is really, really beautiful because it's so simple that you will not find any, the modern decor or anything, but it's totally made of, mud. But it's really pretty. So you can actually see the view of Kangra Valley from the top. There they have this meditation hall and they conduct yoga. And they have this small and short and long term courses and workshops and volunteering. They have a lot of activities. So where you have the opportunity, you can be there for a minimum of a week, up to 3 weeks or 4 weeks. You can take part in the sustainable construction or you can help them in their day-to-day maintenance, or again, similar to the Deer Park, they have a set of activities that can be done. But Dharmalaya has more of structured activity. So they are very methodic. So that's what I observed. Like I was just reading, I think I remember a bit of it. Like it starts at very early in the morning, and I think about around 4 to 5 p.m. in the evening you are free. So you are supposed to participate in activities and all that. So it's again a really good place if you want to spend time. So I think India has very few places. That's what I feel. Like I was looking up for volunteering. I think these days it's becoming good that there are a lot of places and opportunities where people who want to travel and combine travel and get some experience can right. So because it was not like this earlier, so that's very good
true.
thing.
Yeah, it's true, and I think it's a good thing. It's a good way to give back to the society and take part in social causes in a lot of places. At the same time, you also get to travel, right? So it's a really Definitely. Good thing that it's picking up slowly.
Yes.
And by the sounds of it, by what you've been explaining, Beer does sound like a really, really nice place with a bunch of diverse activities, right? It's not just, it's been labeled as the paragliding capital of India, but besides paragliding, there's so much more to see. The nature, of course, and there's a bunch of monasteries, and given the Tibetan influence there's a number of temples, and then now you mentioned the Deer Park and the activities that the Dharmalaya has to offer. So I think all in all, it's a really nice place. So one doesn't really have to look at it just from an adventure or adventure sport.
Yeah, speaking of adventure, right? I forgot to add, it's a great place for cyclists. So,
okay, so there's more.
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, I just remember because when I was there was this marathon happening. So 2 of them, like half marathon, full marathon, and cycling competition. This is the peak season, as I said, right? So Feb to May. So it opens up, and I think I can name it as the high season for beer. I think people came from from Europe and America and where not, to participate just in that marathon.
Yeah, I agree. And even the Paragliding World Cup happened there in 2015, I believe. So it is quite a hot spot for a lot of these adventure activities like paragliding and cycling and all of that, as you mentioned as well. So thank you so much for taking time out and explaining this in detail. And I'm sure you enjoyed it even more, given that you had an opportunity to slow travel in the place. That way you're not rushing through a lot of places. So you had a better view of life in Beer. But if I had to ask you one memorable moment from this trip, I know it's a long stay that you had there, and it's probably a little difficult question, but what would that be, Reshma, if I had to ask you one memorable moment from the trip?
I think watching the sunset. So every day, whenever I could, I used to just walk, hike, and there were this viewpoints. That I just named it because I used to walk up until for a few kilometers, and I would just sit there watching, just me and the sun setting, and the mountains in the background. So I really love sunsets a lot, and these were some of the best that I've had. And I was fortunate and lucky enough to have them over and over again. So for many days, yeah. So I think that's the best part I can think of.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And tell us how our listeners can follow your work, Reshma.
Yeah, I have my blog, The Solo Globetrotter, and you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. So I am there as Reshma Narasing on Twitter and on Facebook as The Solo Globetrotter. So, and about all these places, I've written in detail about volunteering and about all the places that you can visit. And I also have written about how you can apply for volunteering. You can anybody who is interested can just contact, because I have written on the details. I'm not sure if they still do it at this point. I'm sorry, I did not check it before. But if not that, you can still look up for Dharmalia and the Deer Park Institute and how you can do things apart from paragliding, of course.
Absolutely. We will include all of these links in the show notes section of the podcast, so anybody interested can go check out all the blog posts that Reshma has written, as well as the links to the respective institutes about volunteering opportunities and activities in general that those institutes have. Reshma, thank you so much for taking us and our listeners on this beautiful journey through this little quaint town, or I don't know if I can even call it a town. It's probably a village called Beer, and showing us these beautiful views of the Daladar mountain ranges, the deodar trees, giving us a sample of the food and the culture of the Himachali people, and of course not to forget lots of adventure activities that one can indulge in terms of paragliding and cycling and whatnot. So thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing more from you and reading more from you and your blog, thesologlobetrotter.com. Thank you, Reshma.
Thank you, Saif. Thank you for having me here, and I really hope that you enjoyed listening to my stories and volunteering, and it was really a pleasure to have this conversation, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Reshma. That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Audioboom, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.